We've got the Thunderdome, obviously, that's very popular. A lot more popular than we imagined as well. Everybody wants the Thunderdome.
Hello everyone, my name's David. Welcome to Wax Gamer. Today I am happy to bring you this exclusive interview with Michael Yeates, lead developer from the game Alien Worlds. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Mining all we can on the land, what's the plan when you got the TLM in your hand, huh?
Pandemics raged across the planet. Humankind desperately searched for an escape. A ray of hope came from the Federation, the world's most advanced Bitcoin mining community. Engineers analyzing the algorithms discovered patterns of hidden messages sent from an unknown civilization far from their known universe. Once deciphered, these messages formed a map leading them to a wormhole and the chance of salvation. A brave crew of volunteers ventured into the wormhole and were catapulted to a distant metaverse. Within this interstellar network, the pioneers discovered exoplanets that were inhabitable and began to build a new civilization. The pioneers strove to build a new fair economy. Everything was tokenized, from the tools and weapons they forged, to the land they claimed, and their avatars that walked it. More explorers arrived at the frontier to seek their fortunes in Trillium. Some became landlords, renting space for construction projects and entrepreneurs. Others extracted Trillium from deep within the mines. The bravest adventurers competed in quests for hidden treasures. The Federation sent supplies to support their heroes. And today, 6 planets stand at the frontier of the new Federation of Alien Worlds. Untold riches are waiting in the prospering metaverse, where real and virtual worlds collide. How will you make your fortune?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to have with us today Michael Yeates of Alien Worlds fame. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to catch up with you finally. I know we've been trying to link up for a while, and a lot of exciting stuff is going on with the project. But there's something I want to know right away. I noticed you're a Velsian, so I have to know this. What makes Vels so special to you?
Well, obviously, it's the party planet. It has the most islands on it. I have an island there, so yeah, I think it's definitely the most relaxed of the planets, and it's the one where you want to kind of retire to. I've got an island there. I'm going to build a little jetty for the boats, and we can have some parties there, I think.
That sounds great. Maybe a golf course or something.
It was quite an independent place as well. It's less independent now. People are kind of snagging up all of the different planets, but when I first staked, it was quite independent. So
nice place to call home then.
It is, yeah.
So a lot of exciting stuff going on within the metaverse in the last few weeks, and I wanted to touch base with you on this right away, though. The planetary governance race is quite compelling to follow. I don't know how close you've been following it, but are you happy with how the list of candidates is progressing thus far?
Yeah, I think it's really good. We were a little bit worried that originally there wouldn't be anyone registering, or there would be like 3 or 4, and we would find it hard to even start the elections. But yeah, it's good that we're getting quite a lot of people registering, and we're going to hold it open for a little bit longer just to make sure that everyone's on an even playing field when it comes to voting, that we don't have people who are registered early and in the race early, so with an advantage. So, but yeah, it's been really good, and we're seeing loads of people that I didn't know were even thinking about it, and then even now we're getting people coming forward saying, I want to start running as a council member. So.
And some of the campaigns have actually been quite interesting. But I have to know this too. Do you plan on throwing your name into the proverbial political ring?
No. We've decided to be independent, and I think that's probably good, just because I don't think I would have the time to dedicate to doing everything. I think originally I did kind of want to take part in one of the, probably Valley's, but over time I've realized that I'm never going to have enough time to dedicate to that. I can probably like consult with people and work and help people and give people tips on how to modify the contracts and add contracts to to the mix. But yeah, to begin with, it's just not going to be possible.
Not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, I mean, even now I work, 16 hours a day, so I couldn't really have.
Yeah, and anytime I'm on Telegram, anytime I pull up your profile, it's like last seen recently. It's like no matter what time of the day it is. Yeah. So, okay, so let me ask you this though: are there any campaigns that you follow or find entertaining, yourself?
I don't actually. Where is all the campaigning going? I've seen a couple of people who have registered, and there was a little bit of back and forth for the cabal and everybody, but I haven't actually seen much full-on campaigning yet. So maybe it's happening away from my eyes. Maybe it's in
it's happening in the back alleys. Then this is kind of like, it's like a black market campaigning going on. We're gonna have to bring it to the forefront then, where you can check it out. I think we
definitely need to. Yeah, we need to have a bit more organization for the telegrams and discords, and just have somewhere that people can come and put their name forward and start saying what they're likely to do. I think at the moment it's difficult for people because they don't really know what to do, because it's all so new. It's all like they don't really know yet, so it's all going to be quite basics to begin with. But I think after a couple of months of people running the planets, then we'll start to see a little bit more focus and a little bit more ingenuity and a little bit more original kind of planning and governance. So yeah, it's definitely early days, and I think yeah, it's good to see. If there is campaigning going on that I don't see, then that's good news.
Lots of campaigning going on. I'm gonna have to try to get that to you somehow. Some of it's quite entertaining as well. Okay, could you I love the community aspect of this digital reality, like the coming together, the teaming up, the working towards a greater goal. It's truly inspiring. But did you envision the metaverse being this amazing when you was developing the game?
Not at all. We always knew that there would be communities forming, because we're from the DAC, which is a digital autonomous community. So it's always going to take communities, and we always wanted each planet to be a community of its own. But the scale of it is just insane. We didn't imagine anything like these kind of numbers or this kind of attention. Nothing that we've done, we kind of planned ahead of time. I think we had, we had some ideas of how many users we would have by now, and it's a fraction of what we actually have now.
I can imagine.
So yeah, there's a lot of catching up to do, and there's a lot of like fixing problems that we never knew would exist at this point in time. We've overwhelmed most of the APIs that exist. I don't think there's one API that's not suffered from the sheer volume of traffic. But it's good. We're getting there. We're on top of most of the API stuff now. We're going to be deploying our own API, which will hopefully make it a bit more resilient. Yeah, I mean, the community aspect is great. It's all split up as well now, and there's all different Telegram groups. There must be 20 or 30 Telegram groups, and the same in Discord as well, which, I used to keep an eye on everybody. I used to go into all of the Telegram groups and like quietly just watch and see what was going on. And it's impossible now. It's just impossible unless someone like pings me. Keep an eye on it, just because the traffic in those groups and the number of groups as well is just insane.
I can imagine. I kind of skipped this question, but I feel like it's important. Maybe we can take a moment to elaborate on the role that like governance will play in the metaverse and why this should be important to every explorer.
Well, governance is everything. It's at its core, it's like how do people make decisions as a group or a community, and it's going to be how are people going to make decisions about what to do with the money that comes into each planet. So as you know, there's money coming into the trillion coming into the planet every day. 80% of that automatically gets filtered off to the mining game, but there's still 20% left, which is, it's a large amount now. There's a huge amount of trillion in each of these accounts. So they're going to need to decide how to spend that collectively. And we're looking to kind of make everybody a little bit more incentivized for individual planets. Not going to go into too much detail, but we're thinking about ways to make it kind of a little bit more competitive between the planets, because that's what really drives people is the competition. And yeah, so the governance is going to spend the tokens which they receive, and hopefully that will mean that they will receive more stake. So the goal of them is to increase the stake, which will increase the trillium influx into the account, and then they've got more to spend as well. So it's kind of circular that they will be trying to increase the profitability of the planet and the popularity of the planet. So that will help everybody who's a landowner there and everybody who's mining there as well. So
I love the fact that you teased some changes with us here today too. That's awesome. And yeah, it sounds like it's good to kind of actually have the explorers maybe more invested in the planet that they're invested on. So that sounds cool. That sounds cool.
We're always looking to make changes. We're constantly thinking about different things to change and how to tweak things, because, you know, we launched this, but there's no precedent for how you launch a series of DAOs, you know, how you launch 6 DAOs at once. There's no precedent for that. So we do tweak things a little bit as we go along, and sometimes we make quite major changes. And I think everything that's happened recently has kind of prompted a lot of major changes to go on behind the scenes, which we're just kind of figuring out now. And I think they're going to be for the better anyway. It's going to help everybody who's vested in the game. Let's put it that way.
Can you talk about a little bit, you kind of elaborated on this a little bit earlier, but could you talk about the thought that went into creating the system that allows the communities to develop, because it seems separate to the mining and governance?
In a sense, they're kind of autonomous. They're autonomous communities, and therefore it's kind of always been our plan to allow these things to kind of spring up and form by themselves. And that's good that that's actually happening. You know, it doesn't require us to say, okay, everybody go here, everybody go here. They've kind of just sprung up by themselves. Like the crypto monkeys, for example, they sprung up. We didn't even know that they were doing anything, and that was quite early on. The cabal, they sprung up. The army, you know, the alien army, they sprung up as well. It's all just independent, and I like that. I think that's really what we're aiming for. We want people to be doing as much as possible themselves, because eventually we want to kind of take a back seat and just allow this system to run itself. Obviously we would still have some control over the contracts, but the idea is that eventually, you know, it takes on a life of its own, and all these communities are kind of running themselves, and they shouldn't need to ask us for permission to do anything. They should just be able to do almost whatever they like, as long as it's within the rules of the game, which are pretty lax, really. There's no hard rules in the game. It's kind of, we want people to have this imagination, and we want people to do original things. That's great. That's exactly what we want to see. We don't want to see people only doing what we prescribe them to do.
I like the way you said that too. It kind of almost gives everyone like the childlike feeling again, almost like anything is possible in the metaverse. That's the way I feel every time I log in.
People are kind of setting up their own little businesses within the metaverse, and they're all kind of, you know, lots of activity going on, and that's really good for us as well. You know, we don't want to take all of the pie. We want most of the pie to be available to the community, which is how it's coming along. It's not the fastest or most efficient system, but it gets there in the end. And it's kind of like real life, you know. There isn't, you know, we don't live in a system where the government is prescribing who starts which business. So yeah, we want to see people thriving independently inside of this ecosystem, because that's what it is. You know, it's not just a game or a metaverse. It's a full-on ecosystem with its own economy, and that's what we're aiming to kind of develop.
Absolutely. Well said as well. Could you maybe talk about, like, I know the past couple of weeks have been very exciting for the project. Would you care to recap the last couple of weeks for maybe like new people to the metaverse? You can do it as briefly as you like. I know there's so much to cram in.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've actually been running for a year. So the last year has been.
Oh, I understand that. I'm just talking about maybe since this the last couple of weeks, the exponential growth that the game has experienced. Like, how has that been for you, personally, and for the project as a whole?
It's been incredible. We've been working to try to get listed on Binance through their the launch pool project or group, which is what we've achieved. And we always knew, it's the goal to get listed, and then it's going to improve it a lot. But we were never really kind of prepared for just the serious amounts of traffic that came our way. Like as soon as we announced, our Telegram just exploded. I think we had to kind of stop it for a while just because it was going so crazy, and then we had to kind of really reassess how to handle this huge number of people that have come in. It's thousands and thousands, and you see that within the Telegram, you see it, the Discord, you see everything has just gone through the roof. All of the APIs are being used. I'm in trouble frequently. All the time I'm in trouble. Like, whatever happens on the chain is like, okay, that's Alien Worlds. What have Alien Worlds done today? So yeah, listing on the Binance exchange has really kind of sent us into the stratosphere. We were kind of like it was a very wax orientated community before. It was just the people who are in wax, and it was big within the wax community, but we've always had these ambitions to get outside of that community. And I guess we need to be careful what we wish for, because it kind of happened. So
Happens a little quicker than you're ready sometimes. That's
exactly.
awesome.
I mean, it's good. It's all good. We shouldn't complain at all. But it is just, we've had to kind of go into emergency mode a little bit just to cope with everything. So kind of settling down a little bit now. It's good. We're kind of like, all the new people have been onboarded, and there's still people coming in. We see it regularly. But the community is a little bit more calm now, and everything's it's getting better. So it's all good. Now we're kind of pushing into the next phase, because also, as well as listing on Binance, we also raised 2 million in a private round, which was just before the Binance listing. So people kind of knew about that, but I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks before. So that really has helped us. We've got a lot of new partners now, and we've got a lot of IP that's likely to be coming to the Metaverse soon. And there's a lot of projects which were in the background, which were working. And then Binance kind of took over all of that. And now we're kind of looking to push everything out. So we're in a little bit of a lull now, where we kind of like step back and just take stock from what happened with the Binance launch. But now we're kind of back into pushing those features out, which were, we've got the shining of the weapon, and the minions for the Thunderdome. We've got the art NFT drops. We're really looking to have a lot of third-party NFT drops onto miners, which will, really improve the value for the miners. We've got the Thunderdome, obviously, that's very popular. A lot more popular than we imagined as well. Everybody wants the Thunderdome. We've got the Planet Binance launch coming soon. So yeah, a lot of new stuff coming up. There's a couple of more things which I'm not going to talk about just yet. But we will announce it when the time is ready.
You can only tease so much on one show, right?
Do you think we could, is it okay if we open it up to some questions from the audience, and I'll throw them in the bottom? Could you guys...
I have one more question for Michael before we do, and that's because I get this every day in chat. I can't get away from this interview without asking it. Do you have any updates on Thunderdome? These people are dying to send their minions into battle with each other to fight for their planet. And so I have to ask you, what is the update on the Thunderdome? Everyone is just curious to know any sort of information on it.
We don't give dates, but we will give progress reports and tell you like exactly what step we're at. So at the moment, we have the outline of the game. We have the design of how it will work. We're writing the smart contracts, which will allow you to kind of put your minions in along with their weapons and along with your fee to join. and we're kind of working now on making some test runs. So we're going to kind of script everything to run a load of tests and some example battles and everything, and then we're going to be tweaking that until we have something which we feel is good and nicely balanced for launch. It's not going to be the next thing that we launch. It probably won't even be the thing after that we launch. So just be patient. It's going to be a large thing. I think the first thing that will come will be the shining of the minions and the weapons. And then, yeah, we're going to be working on the Thunderdome. The big question is how the UI looks. Like, how far do we go with the UI? Obviously the easiest thing is just to say, have a text-based thing with a little picture saying you've entered the battle and then you've won or you've lost or whatever. We can go all the way up to having like 3D renders of the actual battle itself, which that could take 6 months to a year. So I don't think that's going to be there for the first launch. But yeah, it's progressing, and like I say, a lot of things got kind of sidetracked a little bit with the Binance launch, but we're back on these things now, and we do know that people want the Thunderdome.
Yeah, thanks for the update. A lot of explorers are really dying to know more about the Thunderdomes.
You just answered half our questions.
Yeah, I guess a lot of questions about that, but we know that people desperately want it, and we are kind of pushing it as hard as we can internally. But yeah, these things don't necessarily come out immediately because we have to make sure that they're fair, and that there's a lot of Trillium involved as well, because everybody's going to be putting entrance fees in, and we want to make sure that it's fair, and also that it's repeatable as well, so that we're going to probably put some code out which will show how the battles are done, because they won't be done on chain necessarily, they'll be done off chain, but you will be able to repeat your battle yourself and see that the outcome that we came up with is the fair outcome. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Very important too. I like how
so
you
cool.
do it off chain like that as well, so people can sort of take time to confirm. That's awesome.
Yeah, and we should have at least the rules. Hopefully we will have like an example script for how it would run, but we'll see how it turns out. I want to have everything as open and transparent as possible, and then people can see that it was a fair race.
GVM, did you want to toss any questions in, or would you like?
Yeah, a couple of the common ones. A lot of people want to know what your favorite actual tool NFT is from in-game.
I like the Dakalizer, obviously.
Nice.
Probably my favorite.
Another common question is, do you plan on reducing the TLM fee for shining?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, obviously, laws changed since we originally launched Shining, and now the fees are actually in dollar values. They're incredibly high. So yeah, we definitely will be reducing those fees. To what exactly, we're not sure, but we've got an idea. We just need to kind of agree on that and then put that forward. Yeah, obviously the fees now are pretty extreme, so they will be reduced.
So another good one was, according to a lot of places, the anniversary, your 1-year anniversary just happened. Mm-hmm. Is that what you consider to be the true birthday of Alien Worlds?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's when we originally decided, right, let's do this. We bought the short names. We bought the Worlds, Federation, and then we started creating the accounts on that day. So that was when, I think that was just after we had a big meeting about everything, and we kind of wrote the outline for everything. We still were nowhere near details for how things worked. But yeah, I mean, I guess that would be the original birthday, and then maybe the day that we started the pack sales, that could be our first day at school. And then maybe the day that the application launched, which I think was 23rd of December, 22nd of December, I forget now.
22nd, I think.
I think 22nd, yeah. The 22nd, maybe that's our our first day at big school or our 18th birthday or something. I don't know.
You get your first car or something that day.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Days.
I'll sneak one in, like keeping with this metaphor. Could you tell us anything about the pregnancy? Like before that date, like how did you even get to that point?
When you said the pregnancy, I thought you were talking about the actual pregnancy. I was dealing with an actual pregnancy through most of the original days of the launch. The pregnancy actually happened pretty quickly. So I guess the pregnancy started when we first started producing blocks on the Wax blockchain. So I don't know if people know, but we're producers on the Wax blockchain. We run a Zero Stack on the Wax blockchain. So we're one of the 21 people who secure the chain. And Wax is a little bit different in that every month we have to kind of justify why we are top 21 and why we get paid to secure the network. So everybody has to kind of say, you know, I've set up nodes, I've done this project, I've brought these people to Wax, I've kind of done all these sorts of things. So we spend a lot of time thinking, what can we do? Like, what's our unique kind of original thing that we're going to bring? Because everybody can set up nodes, everybody can kind of do this and that and have, you know, some infrastructure, but we really wanted to bring an app across. And our application, which we were running on the EOS network, was the DAC Factory, which was this, well, still is. It's a front end where you can go on, you can set up your own DAC, and it will just generate everything in the background and run. And we originally thought maybe we can just bring that across and we'll just rebrand it and we'll just call it the Wax DAC Factory. But that was a little bit boring and it wasn't really in line with the Wax blockchain as such. So we kind of started to think about how we could make a game which would involve DAOs as well. So I guess there was a lot of individual thinking. So like all of the original launch team, we kind of probably were all thinking in our own heads about different things. And then one day we all met up locally to here and we just had a big powwow and decided this is what we're going to do. And I think it ended up being a lot bigger than we thought. We thought it would be just a very quick kind of, yeah, let's just make our DAC factory for Wax and then do a little bit different. But it turned out being a lot different, you know. Just the NFTs themselves was a huge amount of work to get all the NFTs ready and checked, and like people don't really understand how much work is involved in just checking that they're correct. You know, even then we made a few mistakes. There's a couple of like typos on some of them, but yeah, it's literally months of creating the works and verifying them. And yeah.
We got a couple more questions if you have a sec. A common thing seems to be people want to understand if there's a plan to like have an Alien Worlds app either on phone or on PC rather than having it browser based.
It's definitely a possibility. We're kind of constricted by technology a little bit there because of the Wax Cloud Wallet. So the Wax Cloud Wallet at the moment doesn't work very well with those kind of native apps. So they are actually in the process of making a mobile-friendly Wax Cloud Wallet integration. So once they've produced that, it's definitely something that we can look at. I think it was something that Rob always wanted to have, but we've gone for the web-based just because it can work for everything really. We're actually in the middle of producing a brand new web-based user interface, which will incorporate a lot more of the elements that we have within Alien Worlds, because we have the council voting, we have the shining, we have inventory, we have the actual mining itself. We're going to have land management. There's quite a lot in there, and there's quite a lot which was missing from the first one. Like for example, you know, a lot of people want it so that you can have 2 different bags and then easily switch between the bags. So a lot of people have this morning bag, which is like a big explosive and long charge times, and then they'll have a day bag, which is like very short, and then they can work through the day. So yeah, we're planning to have a new interface, which will be HTML, and that's our next priority in terms of the interface.
And that sounds awesome, saving bags.
Yeah,
like something as simple as that, like, blows my mind that I hadn't even thought how cool that would be.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things like land selection is really tricky at the moment. Like it kind of, when we first planned it, it was like, yeah, okay, this is a side thing, but we haven't really imagined how much promotion of land there would be. So we're going to have a nice way to kind of select your land and maybe even share your land, you know, say just through a link that people can click. So yeah, we're doing a lot of work on a new interface, and that's going to be done first. Then the Wax team are going to relaunch the mobile Wax wallet, which may not be coming straight away. That could be 3 to 6 months away. So once that's released, we're going to investigate that and see if it's possible to create a standalone app for the.
Oh, that's amazing.
But even then, we may then start hitting problems of Apple, etc. You know, it's not straightforward to get a mobile app into the App Store. If it involves crypto in any way, then again, that makes things difficult. So yeah, we're going to need to assess everything and see whether it's going to be worth doing. It would be nice, but it might not be practical, especially if we can't get it into the App Store. We might spend 6 to 9 months working on it and then find that we can't even deploy it to people. So that would be an issue.
Another thing around what you were just saying, a couple people just wanted to make the point that they would love to get a notification if the land they were mining on, if the commission changes.
Yeah, that's another thing that we kind of realized early on, was that actually people could set their land and then people could go and change the commission under them. And it was just something that we never really anticipated originally until it started, and then it was like, okay, this is so obvious that people could do that. We need to fix that. So we put in a temporary fix, which was to limit the commission to 35%. So that kind of stops that. But yeah, it's definitely something that probably people should even see before they click the mine button. You know, it should show the percentage there, and these are all the kind of things that we're grouping up and we're putting into the new interface to make sure that anything that we overlooked originally is going to go in. Yeah.
Another question was, do you and the team meditate or have some like Zen thing you're doing to stay calm? Because I mean, with everything that's going on, you're the calmest, most collected person I think I know. And this question's coming from the chat though, like it emanates from your team. Like how are you keeping that?
The only way to stay calm is not take things too seriously. You shouldn't take yourself too seriously or anything too seriously. You know, just imagine life as a simulation, and then you're all cool. You know, no, we don't. I don't meditate. I'm supposed to be starting some yoga soon. You know.
Are you a simulation believer?
You know, how do we know? Not really. Not really, but you know, if you imagine that it's a simulation, it makes everything a lot more easy, you know. You know, I do get stressed, but you have to kind of just, you know, just see everything as a bit of fun. You know?
Well said. I have to ask you this before we hop out, and I know your time is probably very limited today. I'm sure you have a lot of developing to get back to, but are there any future plans for any more NFTs at this time? Like, is there anything on the table or within the timeline at this moment?
We have, I'm not the best person to ask about this. Rob is the guy who's he's the NFT lord. We do have the artifacts coming soon. I know he's thinking about that, and I think he even has some designs ready. We try not to flood everything with too many NFTs, apart from the abundance, obviously, which we just enjoy flooding as much as possible. Yeah, we're not planning any kind of pack sales anytime soon. I think we kind of did that, and we're probably going to distribute NFTs in a different way now. And the next set will be the artifacts, and we're kind of starting to think now that maybe there would be another set of tools coming, just because we're kind of, a lot of the tools, we're reaching our limits on the max supply that we have on them. So we kind of have to start planning those out now, and think what happens after we reach those limits.
Sure.
We're not going to reach them tomorrow or next week, but it is the kind of thing that we're starting to think about. No more land. I know a lot of people want more land. There's definitely no plans that I know of for any more land or planets. Not to say it couldn't happen tomorrow. Like, somebody could come to us with a third-party IP and say, look, we really want to bring this IP to Alien Worlds, but we need a planet for it, and we want to kind of run the planet in a different way or have some sort of different thing. And we want to have land on there. And it could happen, but it definitely is not planned at the moment. There's nothing heard of.
And with the artifacts, like, those will be obtainable through mining, and those will almost act as like a modifier during your Thunderdome battles. Is that how that will act?
They may well be acting as a modifier during your mining as well. They're almost kind of like, again, I'm not the right person to ask about this, and I may be speaking out of turn, but from what I understand, they're almost like a potion. They're like a one-hit kind of, like, drink this, maybe it reduces your mining time down to 0, maybe it increases your mining reward. I don't think these things are fully decided, not in public yet anyway. I'm sure Rob has them in his brain. He's thinking a lot about these kind of things. But yeah, they will be almost like, they'll be usable. So once you've used them, they're gone. They are burnt. So there's going to be quite a lot of them around. They will be discoverable via mining, as far as I know. And they will have these kind of one-shot effects on various things within the game.
Sounds so cool.
You have anything else for us, GVM?
I mean, a lot of people are interested. I know you had spoken about it before. Could you say anything about Planet Binance?
Yeah. Planet Binance will be Planet Binance already actually exists. Nobody's really noticed, but Planet Binance is BINA.world, and it's accruing Trillium every day. We've decided to allocate it a certain amount of Trillium every day. The planet algorithm now works to 7 planets instead of 6, which means that there's a little bit left for Planet Binance. Those tokens will be teleported over to the Binance chain, where they will be used as reward for a missions game. And the missions are going to be fixed in length and fixed in reward. So basically, you go along and you will stake a certain amount of Trillium tokens for each spaceship. So there's kind of a staking cost per spaceship, and you can decide how many spaceships you want to send on this particular mission. And it could be, I think it's, don't quote me on this, it's 7, 14, 30 days. There's various lengths of mission. And the longer the mission, the more rewards there are. And the longer the mission, you receive an NFT as well, which is a BSC hosted NFT, which are special mission NFTs. So obviously, if you go on the longest mission, you receive a legendary NFT. If you go on the shortest mission, you receive like a common NFT. And the reward pot is split amongst the spaceships. So each spaceship receives a percentage of the reward based on how many spaceships went on that mission. So there's a little bit of gamification and thought that needs to go on. So you need to think, you don't want to go into a mission that's already full of spaceships. You want to go into a mission that's empty. So there's a little bit of gamification there.
Bit of strategy.
There's a bit of strategy involved, yeah. So yeah, that's the basic overview. At the moment, we're having a bit of problems deploying onto Binance Smart Chain because we were using a service which gives us an API, and just like 4 or 5 days ago, there was something which happened on Binance Smart Chain which sent it crazy. There was like thousands of transactions per block, and that's killed all their APIs as well. So unfortunately, this seems to be the kind of the Achilles heel of the blockchain, is the actual APIs which are processing all the data. So the API service that we were planning to use, or that we've been building towards, crashed and burned. So we're just kind of at the point where we're kind of stalled a little bit on that, unfortunately, because we're waiting for that to come up, because we're not going to launch with a poor user experience where the UI doesn't update for, I mean, it's taking days to update now. So it's like you and then it wouldn't show that you're on a mission for days. So yeah, we decided that's kind of on pause at the moment. I've kind of started working on a few other things. We've raised the issues, and we've got some backup plans for what we can do if it doesn't come back. And it's kind of, at the moment, it's looking like we're going to have to implement those backup plans. So we're looking around to find out what we can do in terms of having something that's hosted by us rather than a third-party service. So yeah, we're very close. We have the UI, we have the smart contracts all written, they're all done. The UI is 90% done, but unfortunately we hit this problem where the APIs are not updating. So as soon as we sort out that issue, we're going to push it out as soon as we can. I can't give timelines, I never give timelines, but that's where we are now. We're very far advanced with it. Everything is pretty much, all the NFTs are ready, they're all done, we have the images. We're just waiting for all this API to kind of sort itself out, because we want it to be a smooth launch. We want everything to be as smooth as possible, and we don't want to launch on something which we know isn't as reliable as it could be, especially if it's very popular. You know, if
Right.
our history of predicting how popular things has gone, it's going to be incredibly popular. So, yeah, so yeah, Planet Binance exists. It's receiving Trillium. We're going to teleport that over. So we need the initial liquidity supply, which is why we launched it a few days ago. It was about a week and a half ago now. So yeah, we need that initial liquidity to fuel the missions, because everything's locked in the smart contracts for the missions when they begin. So we need that liquidity. Yeah.
You have anything else, GVM?
That's about it from over here. Thank you so much. I'll let you take the end, Dave. Mike.
Mike, do you have anything to say before we wrap it up?
No, just thank you for everybody for supporting this crazy project. I felt like in the beginning that nobody really understood or got it, and now I'm just so happy that so many people do. Please forgive our growing pains. We have a few, but they are getting better. We're slowly fixing everything, and yeah, I'm looking forward a lot to the next steps, and just getting back to work and just pushing through all of these things and getting to the final goal of decentralized autonomous planets.
Sounds amazing. Thank you for your hard work, Michael. We can, from the entire community, a huge thank you for everything you've done for us as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Yeates. Thanks so much for joining us, Michael. Hopefully we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you.
That was a fun time. I'd like to take a moment to thank Michael Yeates again for his time. I know he is extremely busy developing Alien Worlds, so it's truly appreciated that he took about 45 minutes with us today. If you found this video enjoyable, please consider giving the channel a subscribe, and don't forget you can always catch us on the web at waxgamer.com. Catch up with everyone soon. Mining all we can on the land. What's a plan when you got the TLM in your hand, huh?